We thought we were going to die, says the Spanish influencer that got ganged hard in India. They were motorcycling across the country. They are YouTubers. They have a channel. So you have influencer Fernanda 28 and Vicente 63. I think that the woman is originally from Brazil. Anyway, horrible story, the stuff of nightmares, and yet so much to learn here. First thing to learn, don't go to fucking India. One of the worst places on this planet. I wouldn't go there no matter how much you pay me, let alone go camping there with my wife and kids. It is insane that they thought this was even a good idea. And my heart, goes out to the victims of this horrible, and they're quite open about it, which, takes a lot of bravery. And I think it's important, because if you don't put a face to this, it's a lot easier to do what we usually do, which is look the other way, pretend this is not happening, pretend it is not real. But they were brave enough, both of them were brave enough to talk. Look how they ended up. Beaten the crap out of, raped by 7 Indian dudes for 3 hours throughout the night. The man was held with a knife to his throat. They took the woman somewhere else, and they took turns raping. I mean, it's a complete disaster. It's the stuff of nightmares, really. And yet, you have to, why do you go to these fucking horrible places? And the answer is they don't know better. They think that the world is this civilized bubble in which they grew up, in which they were brought up. I was surprised that the woman from Brazil didn't know any better, really. Because a guy from Spain, I kind of understand how growing up in Spain, you believe the world is not what it really is. But come on, you're camping in India, you're backpacking in India, you're sleeping in a tent in the street in India. You don't know what that place is all about. You don't know what India is known for, probably best. So, horrible, terrible events, and here yet you have to ask yourself, why would you put yourself in that position? Why would you not find, and as always, everything that we talk about here in the channel, what I write about in my books, Surviving the Economic Collapse and Street Survival Skills, specifically for self-defense tools. Yes, knives work pretty well, pepper spray. These work particularly well when there's 7 attackers. You have a couple rounds per each and a couple more to spare. So you have plenty of, you're not going to be taken over by a bunch of guys with a knife if you're somewhat aware and you have a tool to defend yourself. Now, you're not going to be traveling across India with one of these. So don't even go there. If it's not a place, and here's where we get into the actual lessons. If it's not a place where you're safe enough to move around freely, if it's not a place where you're safe enough with a minimal amount of awareness and some basic self-defense tool, maybe a pepper spray, maybe a knife, a folder, if that's not enough for the kind of risk you're likely to face, don't go there. Don't go there, and by all means, don't sleep in a tent outdoors in such a place. These people honestly thought they were safe. They thought that the karma, that the universe, because they're good people, they're not trying to harm anyone, they're just driving their motorcycles and doing their YouTube thing and exploring and having fun, which they have all the right to do. You have all the right to do whatever it is you want. But these people don't understand the massive difference in the global scenario that you're in. You don't understand that in Spain, you can walk across the beach naked. Women walk around the beach topless. Very few creeps even stare, let alone say something vulgar. It is the kind of thing that your grandmother used to do, go about your life topless in the beach, because that's culturally normal. It's not normal in the rest of the world. Bad things happen everywhere. Bad things happen in Spain, in the United States, in any civilized country, somewhat developed country. Awful things happen, and yes, including gang AR attacks like these ones. It is not as common, though. It is very far-fetched. And here is where I want to talk about the second important aspect of this video, which is the world is changing. We are being attacked. Western societies, as you know them, are being attacked. If you grew up in the United States, if you grew up in Latin America, South America, Central America, Canada, Europe, if you grew up in any of these countries, in any of these parts of the world, you probably still believe that everything is the same, that everyone is the same all over the world, and that is simply not true. If you grew up in a mostly Christian country, you are lucky. You are one of the few that have experienced a level of kindness, a level of decency, a level of respect for the life of others that is not common in other parts of the world. Not in India, not in China, not in most of Africa, not in Asia, not in Russia. In Russia, if you are stronger than the other guy, well, you take advantage of the other guy. Why should you not take advantage of the other guy? That's exactly the way it's supposed to be. If you are in Africa and you're stronger than the other guy, you just take from him. If you can submit someone to your will, you do that. In these places, that is perfectly normal. The idea of turning the other cheek, the idea of not throwing a rock at the woman that biblical faith, all of that is exceptional. This is the normal thing. This is the brutal reality of the savagery found in most parts of the world. They will not understand why they're not supposed to have their way. Why not? I can just put a knife to the throat of this guy and take advantage of his wife. Why not? I can do that. That's perfectly normal. We are in a bus and there's a 12-year-old and we all agree, yeah, we'll have a heck of a time. Now, if you try doing that in the United States, in most of Europe, at least those parts that still have not been completely invaded. If you do this in a place like Argentina, if you're in a bus in Argentina and you think you're going to be, the entire bus is going to be turning on a child, no, you're probably going to be stopped. And it's been the case that you probably will get your head smashed with a rock on the curb of the street. Because that is not what decent human beings are supposed to do. Even among criminals, there's this idea that no, you do not do this sort of thing to women, especially not to children. And the idea of 10, 20, an entire small village having payback by doing this sort of thing to a child, to a woman, that is insane. It's insane for us. It's not insane for them. We are under attack. We are being led to believe that our way of life, our society is toxic, bad, toxic masculinity, those evil white people with their traditional Christian values. You don't mock the people that are suffering. You don't mock those that are being slaughtered, abused, destroyed. No, that is considered wrong. And yet that is perfectly normal in other cultures where they don't have those traditional Christian values that we do have. These are quite precious and rare. And we are being attacked. We're having those destroyed, undermined, little by little, by China, by Russia. We are being destroyed from within with a very strong funding from these places, from these other parts of the world in which they think that this is the way it should be. China wants to take over Thailand. Why not? Russia wants to take Georgia, Ukraine. Yeah, we're stronger. We are strong Russia. We invade. We don't have any moral compass. Oh, Fernando, Russians are Christians. No, not really. You don't have weird versions of what you consider yourself a very fucked up commie interpretation of what Christianity should be. Christianity is quite clear about what is acceptable and what's not acceptable behavior. And it's no wonder, it should be to the surprise of no one to realize that these things are mostly done by these societies. That's not an accident. It's not a coincidence, right? Bad things happen everywhere. No country is pretty much a saint these days. And yeah, I mean, that is very clear. Especially the United States in spreading, what is it that they call it in Helldivers 2? Moderated democracy, is it? Moderated, yeah, that's a sweet term. The idea of spreading moderated democracy all over the world, that is one of the biggest problems we've seen. And it's the reason why so many places in the world have gone backwards instead of going forwards. That's why they've radicalized their already questionable moral values in the first place. They got even more fucked up. So a lot of work being done in the intention, pretending to spread democracy and decency. It was actually the opposite that was achieved in most of these places all over the world. So yeah, that has to be acknowledged as well. Everyone that participated in these war on drugs, war on terrorism, war on I just want to make a shitload of money by spreading war and misery all over the world. That's what really all of that is about. This is though true. And when you look at who funds the transgender lobby in the United States, yeah, it's going to be China. When you see who funds the green movements all over Europe, when you see who funded most of Brexit, when you see who funds anything that makes us weak as a society, as cultures, as governments, institutions, when you see what makes societies in the West weak, there's always going to be money from these people, from these places, from these powers that see a great opportunity and is usually working along with these shady as hell, evil, elite, globalist corporations that say, yeah, that's the way we want to go. We want to spread that China mentality. We want to spread that Soviet strong man, strong Putin, dictator way of democracy, because that works great for us. It works great for business. That's why you have Disney doing what they do. They point at you with their fucking finger, with that Mickey Mouse finger. They point out at you at how you're not inclusive enough. You're not open enough. You're not open-minded enough. But they don't do that when they see a lot worse happening in China. They shut the fuck up and they even go after you if you speak against them. Same goes for Russia. We need to acknowledge all of this, because if not, we are condemned. We are being... Our greatest strength, which is freedom, right? The idea of individual rights, pursuit of happiness in any way you see fit, as long as you're not messing with the rights of others to pursue their own dreams. All of that freedom is being used against us in a very smart, cunning manner, right? But it is. Oh, you don't care about the environment. You don't care about global warming. And they turn the other way and take money from Russia or China, or you don't drive an electric car, you monster. You don't have an electric car. You're just destroying the planet. I hate you. And they just turn around and buy a damn Chinese car made with slave labor, mining in Africa for lithium. All of that is not accidental. It is planned. And it's all linked to this. The different idea of what decent human behavior should be or should not be. And people in this globalized, beautiful world that we live in, they're finding out, unfortunately, the very hard way. You're going to these places, you're expecting human decency, and you're finding none because they never had it in the first place. It doesn't exist. In the way you grew up knowing it, it simply does not exist. They don't share those same values that you have. The core of it. The idea of, yeah, bunch of guys wanting to have their way. No, that's not cool, man. You don't do that. Oh, but I really want to. Nope. I have a daughter. She's useless. I can sell her. No, you don't sell little girls. That is fucked up, evil, and wrong in any possible way I can think of. But that's my culture. What are you saying? You're not inclusive of my own culture? We are being fooled into believing that to be true. Guys, see you in our next video. Take care.